அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Let me welcome all of you to the great event aiming a journey together in introducing Thirukkural as a universal literature to UNESCO. With the great initiative and guidelines of Dr. Armugam Parasuraman from International Thirukkural Foundation, Mauritius, we could combine our collective efforts towards taking Thirukkural to UNESCO as a universal literature. International Thirukkural Foundation, Mauritius, and Tamil Valarchi Mandram, Sydney, jointly organized a very successful International Thirukkural Conference in 2019 in Sydney, in association with Sydney University, with an underpinning theme, Thirukkural and Peace and Harmony. In 2020, during the pandemic period, we were able to host an online conference themed Thirukkural and Multiculturalism in association with SRM University. The conferences have increased the confidence of Dr. Armugam Parasuraman and his team to host monthly events to further strengthen the evidences to take Thirukkural to UNESCO as a universal literature. Dr. Armugam Parasuraman has initiated the first online Thirukkural and UNESCO series on Valluvar Day this year, that is 2021, inviting Honorable Justice Mahadevan as our guest speaker. Thirukkural is a literature which holds the recordings of the human values, spirit, and thus has universal appeal. The conference will unleash the potential of the ancient literature Thirukkural as a book of the world, which perfectly suits the modern lifestyle and will expose its universal values at the world level. The purpose of these conferences are to identify the role and value of Thirukkural in promoting universality, understand the importance of Thirukkural as a universal literature, creation of action plan to encourage learning Thirukkural among the next generation, to celebrate and promote Thirukkural and Thiruvalluvar around the world, to take Thirukkural as a universal literature to the UNESCO. Involvement in upholding the great cause will include a high-level intellectual involvement, engage the next generation, following up action plans, partnership for following up initiatives. With all these things, it sparked many other eminent scholars from various parts of the world to join hand with us, making this as the signature event, International Thirukkural Foundation holding a series of seminars inviting the eminent scholars presenting various aspects of Thirukkural. The series are conducted on monthly basis, sometimes twice, inviting distinguished scholars to share their knowledge and expertise to highlight the universality of Thirukkural. We are the organizers, Dr. Armugam Parasuraman, President of International Thirukkural Foundation, Mauritius, myself, Chandrika Subramanian, founder, Tamil Valarchi Mandram, Australia, Mr. C. Rajendran, founder, coordinator, Voice of Valluvar Family, Chennai, Mr. Parthasarthi, founder, Valai Tamil, jointly put our effort and welcome today's guest, Mr. Ratnasabhabadi Prabhakaran, to present the event, to present his speech today. Dr. R. Prabhakaran, author and Tamil literature enthusiast, formerly president of Washington Tamil Sangam, will now present. And may I now request Dr. Armugam Parasuraman to present Dr. Ratnasabhabadi Prabhakaran to the audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrika. Thank you for your continued involvement, support to this great initiative we are all engaged in of taking Thirukkural to the world. I would like once again to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Prabhakaran. Thank you for accepting to our guest speaker today, sir, and for also making a presentation on the topic which is very, very much relevant to the overall theme that we are promoting, which is Thirukkural and UNESCO for World Peace. And your theme today, as part of the 9th International Conference, is Valluvar's prescription for the pressing problems of the world today. That's a very, very interesting theme you've chosen, and we are very eagerly waiting to be enlightened by you. Before I introduce our distinguished speaker today, let me mention that we have seen an interesting development from Madras University, whereby they have decided to introduce a new elective paper on Thirukkural for all undergraduate students from the coming academic year. Thirukkural for professional ethics will be introduced as one of the elective courses in all UG programs in affiliated colleges. The university will decide the syllabus. That's very interesting. I think it's an interesting development which will contribute greatly to the promotion of Thirukkural teachings among the future graduates, and also, and that's a very good initiative which should be encouraged and also shared with other institutions. I will now introduce Dr. Prabhakaran, and I would like to say that he has a very distinguished profile, a very eminent profile, where in his own field, in computer science, in the US, where he served there, and after he did serve in Tamil Nadu also for a few years. Then he moved on to doing his MS, PhD, MBA degrees in computer science in the US. He worked in private companies in the United States, NASA, and the US Army, and now has retired. He has held conferences in the United States for the books Thirukkural, Puranuru, and Kuruntokkei. He installed the statue of Valluvar in the United States. Recently published a book in English called The Ageless Wisdom. I'll be very keen to find a copy of this book. He aims to spread Thirukkural and Sangam literature in the West. So as we could see, we have many disciples of Valluvar, many ambassadors of Valluvar, who are doing their contribution to promote Thirukkural globally, each one in his own region. And this is what I think will bring the convergence of all that we do towards taking Thirukkural to the world. He has also posted his commentary on 400 and short songs on websites, written articles on Thirukkural in Tamil and English, and posted them on websites. His blogs are read and used by thousands in the US, India, Canada, the UK, Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and many other countries. We are therefore very honored to have such a distinguished scholar in Tamil, but also such a great personality who is so much knowledgeable on Thirukkural. In 2010, he participated in the classical conference held in Coimbatore, where he published, and he has also published commentaries on the Puranuru and Kuruntokkei Sangam literatures. He has conducted numerous seminars in the Washington area on Thirukkural, Puranuru, and Kuruntokkei. So we are very, very honored, Dr. Prabhakaran, to have you with us today. And we are very much looking forward to your presentation. Let me just at the outset inform our distinguished participants that we will have in September 2 other conferences. You will soon be getting an announcement. We will have on the 4th of September, we'll have Mr. Kumar Punitavale from Canada, who is speaking on the contribution of Reverend G.U. Pope to the universality of Thirukkural. And then on the 21st of September, which is the World International Peace Day, we'll have another eminent speaker in the person of former Director General of UNESCO, Professor Federico Mayor, who was the man behind the whole initiative of getting the the United Nations to adopt the Cultural Peace program. So we have 2 other speakers in September, and today we are very honored to have Dr. Prabhakaran, and we are looking very much eagerly to listen to you, sir, and to give us your insight into what you call Valluvar's prescriptions for the pressing problems of the world today. I would like once again to salute all of you who are present, I would welcome all of you individually, and in particular, I'm glad that Dr. Ashraf has joined us again today. Welcome, sir, and we are looking forward to your continued collaboration with our work. I would also like to welcome Mr. Rajendran, who is with us on this conference, and he contributes also a lot to the organization. With these few words, I'll now have the honor to invite you, Dr. Prabhakaran, to deliver your address. Thank you.
Vanakkam. Thank you, Dr. Arumugam Parasuraman, for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I consider it a great honor to have this opportunity to discuss with you on Valluvar's prescription for the pressing problems of the world today. In the course of human history, there have been many philosophers, prophets, sages, and saints who have contributed to the development of religious and philosophical ideas. The Vedas are considered to be the oldest religious and philosophical text. Historians surmise that Rig Veda, the oldest of the four Vedas, was composed during the period 1500 BC to 1000 BC. The monotheistic religion of Judaism, founded by Moses almost 3,500 years ago, is one of the oldest religions of the world. After the early Vedic period and the beginnings of Judaism, the 6th and 5th centuries BC seem to have been the time when many philosophical ideas simultaneously blossomed around the world. During the 6th century BC, Mahavira and the Buddha appeared in the Indian philosophical scene. Contemporaneously to Mahavira and the Buddha, Confucius, the most renowned Chinese philosopher, preached civic humanism, morality, ethics, and social order in the Far East. Socrates was one of the most preeminent philosophers in the Western Hemisphere during the 5th century BC. Although Socrates did not leave any written documents behind, Plato, his contemporary, and Aristotle, Plato's disciple, have abundantly described Socrates' contribution to Western philosophy. Based on their writings, scholars agree that the dialectical reasoning methodology proposed by Socrates is a foundation for the entire Western philosophical system. Plato and Aristotle have also made their own contributions to the development of Western philosophy. Although there were significant developments in philosophical thought during the 6th and 5th centuries BC, that period did not have a monopoly in that field. There have been many outstanding philosophers and religious leaders in many parts of the world after the 5th century BC. Two major religions of the world, Christianity and Islam, were founded during the 1st century BC, AD, and 7th century AD, respectively. Over the past 2,000 years, several other outstanding philosophers have made remarkable contributions to the philosophical and religious ideologies of the world. About 2,000 years ago, in Tamil Nadu, India, there was an extraordinary man, an outstanding philosopher who analyzed almost all aspects of human life and offered practical guidelines for a purposeful life on earth. Scholars consider his ideas to be eternally valued and universally acceptable. His name is Thirukkural, or Valluvar for short. His legacy is his magnum opus called Thirukkural, or the Kural for short. The Kural is considered a veritable guide for the art of living. Valluvar is very well known in the state of Tamil Nadu, where people of all ages study his book. Professor Maurice Winternitz, an eminent Austrian Orientalist, says Valluvar's Kural is one of the gems of world literature. Valluvar stands above all races, castes, and sects, and what he teaches is a general human morality and wisdom. No wonder that the Quran has been read, studied, and highly praised in the land of its origin for centuries, but also found many admirers in the West ever since it has become known. Dr. Albert Schweitzer, physician, German philosopher, and Nobel laureate, admired Valluvar's positive view of the world and life, as opposed to the world and life negation preached by the religions of India. Leo Tolstoy, the famous Russian novelist, was very impressed with Valluvar's ideas on non-violence. Also, Mahatma Gandhi was so fascinated by the Quran that he wanted to learn the Tamil language so that he can study the original version of the Quran. Russians are said to have preserved important books of lasting value in the Kremlin in an indestructible tungsten chamber. Thirukkural is one of the books in that chamber. Many other scholars and philosophers from various parts of the world have recognized and admired Valluvar's profound and yet pragmatic view of human life and the practical guidelines he has offered for a purposeful life. The Quran is considered one of the most widely translated non-religious works in the world. It has been translated into about 41 languages of the world, and there are more than 50 translations in English alone. Assuming that Valluvar was born about 2,000 years ago, the primary religions in Tamil Nadu as well as India during that time were the Vedic religion, Jainism, and Buddhism. In the Quran, we see some similarities with those religions, but Valluvar differs significantly from those religions. He advocates rationalism, and his book is completely secular. While religions focus on life after death, Valluvar's concern is about life on this earth. He offers guidelines for this life on earth. Even though the society has drastically changed in the past 2,000 years, Valluvar's Quran stands tall as a beacon guiding humanity. He has proposed valid solutions for the problems we face today and perhaps even for the problems we may face in the future. The world has been facing several problems. There are many problems that the world is facing today. In 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a set of goals known as the Sustainable Developmental Goals, which are a collection of 17 interlinked goals. And these goals are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. Now, coming to the topics at hand, what are the most pressing problems of the world today? In my opinion, the most pressing problems of the world today are poverty, diseases, violence, and environmental degradation. The first major problem is poverty. See, in fact, this is the number one goal of the United Nations. Among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, this is number one. So no poverty is number one, and this is related to other goals. For example, number two is zero hunger. Obviously, if there is no poverty, there will be no hunger. And also other goals like good health and well-being. If good health is maintained by all the people, then probably poverty will not be there, and vice versa. So these are all related goals to the first goal of no poverty. Now, what about poverty? Poverty refers to lacking enough resources to provide necessities of life, such as food, clean water, shelter, clothing, access to healthcare, education, and other basic amenities. Judging by this definition, poverty has been a plague upon the society for an awfully long time. During Dark Age in Greece, that is 1100 BC to 750 BC, palaces burned, people left their land and settlements and migrated to new settlements. The Dark Age was the time of worst poverty Greece was ever in, leading to homelessness. Later in the classical period, during the Peloponnesian War, a plague hit Greece and a third of the population died. Refugees had no water or sanitation, and they were scattered everywhere. Ancient Roman society was divided into two major classes: the plebeians, that is the poor, and the patricians, the rich. In ancient Rome, 95% of the citizens lived at or below the poverty level. Impoverished neighborhoods were crowded, dirty, and hungry, and highly vulnerable to robbery and murder. The plebeians lived in extremely unsanitary conditions. Since a large number of people lived in unsanitary conditions, infectious diseases were widespread among the poor. Each year, thousands of people died in Rome from contagious diseases. Therefore, the plebeians lived like the homeless people live today. Although stratification of the society into classes and castes have been responsible for extreme poverty among the so-called lower classes in ancient India, there was severe poverty in other sectors of the society also. Sangam literature documents the extreme poverty of some of the poets and the musicians. In the ancient days, poverty was not limited only to Greece, Rome, or India. There was widespread poverty in all parts of the world. Poverty continued to exist during the Middle Ages, and even today, there is poverty in many countries of the world. According to United Nations report, 85% of the world live on less than $30 per day. 2/3 live on less than $10 per day, and 10% of the people live on less than $1.90 per day. That is approximately 730 million people live on less than $1.90 per day. In fact, I am sure there are many millions of people who live on much less than $1.90 per day. As the economic writer Henry Hazlitt has observed, the history of poverty is almost the history of mankind. So what is Valluvar's view on poverty? Valluvar considers that there is nothing that afflicts one like poverty does. He adds that when cruel poverty comes on, it destroys the joys of this life and the future. He contends that misery caused by poverty is so severe that one may even sleep in the midst of fire, but not in the midst of poverty. Here, Valluvar seems to take the poetic license and exaggerates a little bit that one can sleep in the midst of fire. I don't think it is possible for anyone to sleep in the midst of fire, but it is indeed impossible to sleep in the midst of poverty. If a man does not know how he is going to feed his family tomorrow, how is he going to sleep tonight? He may not be able to sleep even for a minute. Valluvar says that the unbearable misery of poverty brings along with it several other undesirable consequences. According to Valluvar, the state of poverty will totally destroy the honor and glory of one's ancestry. He adds that poverty will force even men of high birth to the moral weakness of speaking mean words. The poor people will not be recognized for their talents. He mentions that though the words of the poor are sound in thought and clear in expression, they will not be heeded by others. Finally, Valluvar is of the opinion that even a mother will treat her son as a stranger if his poverty is not associated with virtue. These statements by Valluvar reveal that he was fully aware of the misery caused by poverty and the consequences of poverty. Now, what are the causes of poverty? There are 4 sets of causes. First is the behavioral cause. That is, one's own behavior may cause poverty. For example, individuals' laziness, lack of motivation, lack of interest in education, and so on. People like this will eventually end up poor. These may be called the behavioral causes of poverty. The second major set of causes include wars, conflicts, lack of infrastructure, government's unresponsiveness to people, lack of welfare programs, poor sanitation, poor public works, lack of affordable healthcare, etc. These causes are related to the malfunctioning and or inefficiencies of the government. There are also natural, these are the institutional causes of poverty. There are also natural causes of poverty. That is, poverty could arise because of natural disasters like flood, earthquakes, droughts, pandemics, climate change, etc. These may be the natural causes of poverty. Then the fourth cause will be social injustice, inequality, and discriminations. These are the societal causes of poverty. Now, how does Valluvar suggest that we solve these problems? First of all, Valluvar's solution for the eradication of poverty due to behavioral causes. Poverty from behavioral causes is self-imposed by the individuals. Thirukkural contains a chapter on not being lazy, a chapter on energy and enthusiasm, a chapter on perseverance, a chapter on education, and a chapter on illiteracy. In the chapter on not being lazy, Valluvar says, if a man is lazy and has no enthusiasm, his family will be destroyed and their crimes will multiply. To emphasize the importance of enthusiasm, Valluvar says, only those who possess enthusiasm will have everything, and those without enthusiasm have nothing, even if they have everything. He praises perseverance by saying, perseverance leads to prosperity, and effortlessness leads to poverty. He emphasizes that value of learning by saying, learning is the imperishable of all riches. All other riches are not real riches. He condemns the uneducated people as beasts. In these and other quarrels, Valluvar advises people against laziness and encourages them to advance in life by acquiring the required knowledge and skills. These are Valluvar's prescriptions for helping individuals to extricate themselves from poverty. Now, about other causes. It is the government's responsibility to avoid unnecessary wars, to ensure that the country has a good infrastructure, welfare programs, affordable healthcare, employment opportunity, and unemployment benefits, and so on. Also, the government should have effective plans to handle natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, droughts, pandemics, etc. Valluvar says the king must protect his subjects. That is the job, that is the duty, and that is the primary duty of the king or the government is to protect the people. He also says that as the whole world looks to the sky for rain, all subjects look to the king for a just rule. According to Valluvar, it is the responsibility of the king to acquire, store, protect, and distribute the wealth. Valluvar clearly states all human beings are equal by birth. Therefore, it is the government's responsibility to have appropriate laws and enforce them so that people are protected against societal inequalities, injustices, and discriminations. So it is the responsibility of the ruler or the government to protect the people from poverty arising from institutional, natural, and societal causes. But there's a problem. Although the responsibilities for various causes of poverty are very clear, the situation may be more complicated in real life. For example, a man with a low level of education may experience poverty. Poverty may prevent him from pursuing further education and prevent him from providing higher education to his children. So a low level of education causes poverty, and poverty in turn leads to poverty in the family. Similarly, the causes and effects of poverty from the institutional causes are also inseparable. For example, a poor country may not have a good and strong infrastructure. If the country does not have a good infrastructure, like bridges and roads, commerce and industry will not flourish in that country. If commerce and industry do not flourish in the country, the national income of the country will be low, that is poor employment, therefore low national income, therefore the country continues to be poor. Thus, poverty causes poor infrastructure, and poor infrastructure causes poverty. So what exactly is the solution? The solution is really external intervention by others. In exceptional cases, an individual can extricate himself out of poverty by sheer discipline and hard work. So also in some cases, a country can get out of poverty through good leadership and dedicated hard work of the citizens. In most cases, an individual as well as a nation may need external help to rise above poverty. For example, a poor man with a low level of education needs help from an external source to continue his education. Even a young man with good education and enthusiasm, eager and willing to work, will be poor if he lacks employment opportunities. He needs external intervention to get out of poverty. That external source can be the government or an employer. So also a nation with poor infrastructure needs financial help from another nation or from an organization like the World Bank. So a poor man or a poor nation may need external help to get out of poverty. So in what form these external help or external intervention can take place? The external intervention can be in the form of charity or philanthropy. Charity and philanthropy are different. Charity is a natural emotional impulse to an immediate situation, and giving usually occurs in the short term. Philanthropy addresses the root causes of social issues and requires a more strategic long-term approach. In this context, Thirukkural says, charity is giving food or giving a person what he needs when the individual comes and asks for food or help, whereas philanthropy is realizing the need for poor people and fulfilling them without anyone explicitly asking for anything. Valluvar says that the removal of fatal hunger is of the destitute is the right place to deposit one's wealth. That is, if you have resources, you should help poor people. In another Qural, he says that even if heaven is denied to you, it is better to help the poor through charity. He is of the strong opinion that there is nothing crueler than not being able to help the poor. According to him, there is nothing more worthwhile than being recognized for charity to the poor. In these cases, someone is hungry and asks for food or help, and he is given food or help. These are Qurals in support of charity. In Qural 212, Valluvar recommends philanthropy when he says, all the wealth gained through hard work is for doing service to the deserving people. In Qural 211, he says, rain does not expect anything in return. Similarly, duty to the society demands nothing in return. In these cases, a person realizes that everyone is alike and has compassion for the poor person, and help is offered to the needy person without being asked. That is philanthropy. The same applies in the case of nations. Wealthy nations, large foundations, or an organization like the World Bank should help the poor country to get out of poverty. So in general, elimination of poverty in the world is the joint responsibility of the individuals, the government, and the society. Now, moving along to the next major problem, it is diseases. Like poverty, diseases also have been there for a long time. And these are all the goals among the Sustainable Development Goals developed by United Nations that are related to the goal of diseases. Now, what is Valluvar's solution for diseases? He talks about some basic instructions for good health. As in the case of poverty, the individual has certain responsibilities, and the government and the society have certain responsibilities to maintain public health. Individuals should do everything they can to maintain good health. In this regard, Valluvar has a few simple instructions. For example, he says that one should eat only after digesting what has already been eaten. Also, one should eat agreeable food in moderation to ensure good health. Although these instructions are very useful, they may not help to cure the numerous diseases that afflict people. But Valluvar has a more general advice that is applicable to all situations. He says, no terrifying calamity will happen to the wise who foresee and guard against potential evils. In a different context, he says, life of a man who does not guard against potential problems will be like a haystack before an advancing fire. But the Qural is also relevant here. As you can see, Valluvar emphasizes precaution as a major weapon to protect ourselves from onslaught of diseases. In other words, the individuals should take adequate precautions by way of exercise, diet control, moderation in food, having medical checkups as required, heeding to the advice of the physicians, and taking all the necessary precautions so one can. Valluvar did not list all these things. We simply say you should take all the precautions that you should. Now, this is particularly applicable in the present context of COVID. One should get vaccinated, maintain social distance, wear a mask, and wash hands often. These are all precautions. Valluvar did not know about COVID, but his emphasis on precaution applies here too. One who takes all these precautions may not suffer from COVID, but sometimes it may not be possible to figure out what precautions to take. For example, certain types of cancers cannot be anticipated or prevented. This is where intervention by doctors and healthcare workers may be necessary. Government also has responsibility to eradicate diseases in a country. In addition to the individuals taking preventive measures, the government is also responsible for making sure the people do not suffer from serious diseases. Valluvar stresses the importance of good health of the citizens as an essential aspect of good governance. He says that good health of the citizens, the country's wealth, plenty of yield, happiness, and proper defenses are the 5 ornaments of a country. Notice that among these 5 ornaments, the first thing he talks about is the good health of the citizens. In another Quran, he says, an ideal country is the one where people are free from starvation and epidemics, and the country is not harassed by enemies. So again, he emphasizes the importance of government or the ruler taking responsibility for good health of the people. Therefore, according to Valluvar, it is the government's responsibility to ensure that people enjoy good health. These days, it will mean affordable healthcare, medical facilities, clean water, good sanitation, and encouraging medical research to develop innovative cures for diseases. The society also has some responsibility. In addition to individuals taking appropriate steps to protect themselves and the government helping the people, Valluvar emphasizes the role of everyone in the society to help the people who suffer from diseases. He questions by asking, what benefit does someone derive from his intelligence if he does not treat others suffering from his own? And he says that you should consider others' suffering as our own if you are an intelligent person. Obviously, everyone has some level of intelligence. Therefore, we should be able to empathize with others' problems. Thus, the society also has a responsibility to help the people to maintain good health. In particular, the doctors and healthcare workers have a responsibility to have empathy and compassion for their patients. Just as in the case of poverty, preventing diseases and curing people when they suffer from illnesses is a joint responsibility of the individual, the government, and the society. Now, moving along, the next major problem is violence. These are all various goals that are related to the elimination of violence. Now, Valluvar's solution for preventing violence. Just like poverty and diseases, violent conflicts have also been common throughout the world since the time of Adam and Eve. The biblical book of Genesis mentions that Cain, one of the sons of Adam and Eve, was jealous of his brother Abel and killed him. There is evidence of violent interpersonal conflicts during prehistoric periods. Violent conflicts continue even today throughout the world. Sometimes the conflicts involve few people, and in other times there are violent conflicts between 2 or more groups of people and wars involving 2 or more countries. For example, according to World Health Organization's World Report on Violence and Health, released in 2000, the 20th century was one of the most violent periods in human history, and during that period, an estimated 191 million people lost their lives directly or indirectly because of armed conflicts. In the year 2000, about 310,000 people died as a result of conflict-related injuries. So it is a fact that violent behavior has been prevalent throughout human history. What exactly is violence? The WHO's World Report on Violence and Health defines violence as follows. Violence is the intentional use of physical force or power, threatened or actual, against oneself, another person, or against a group or community that either results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. Valluvar has a simpler definition. He says, in the chapter on not causing harm, he says, what one has realized as causing pain to oneself, one should not inflict on others. It is simple. This means that one should avoid doing things to others, those things that he finds harmful if they are done to him. This then includes physical as well as psychological harm to others. If an individual is hurt when somebody uses harsh words towards him, he should not use harsh words towards others. Everyone feels the pain when someone causes physical injury to him, and therefore he should not cause physical injuries to others. This is very similar to Confucius' golden rule, which states, do not do unto others what you do not want others to do unto you. What is Valluvar's solution for the problem of violence? Valluvar's target audience is always the individual. His ethical guidelines for life are aimed towards individuals. He always talks about how an individual should behave under different circumstances. Consistent with his view on individual responsibility, he insists that one should avoid doing physical as well as psychological harm to others. First, he appeals to his reader's intellect by asking, what is the use of a man's intelligence if he does not treat the sufferings of others as his own? If he treats others' suffering as his own, he would not cause suffering to other people. If one feels the suffering of others, then he will not hurt other people. He cautions, even vengeance on those who cause unprovoked harm will bring endless evil. He mentions that it is the code of the people who are pure at heart not to hurt others even when they do harm. So in other words, even if somebody deliberately causes harm or hurt, we are not supposed to retaliate. Valluvar is totally against hurting others under any circumstance. He is convinced that it is a cardinal virtue not to do any harm to anyone at any time, in any measure, even in thought. In other words, his advice is one of tolerance of all harm done by others and not doing any harm to anyone at any time, in any measure. In fact, Valluvar goes one step ahead. Here he says, the best punishment for those who do evil to you is to shame them by returning good for evil. This idea of Valluvar is even better than one in the golden rule attributed to Confucius. So here, we are supposed to do good for somebody who does harm to us. So it is better than the golden rule. Therefore, it's appropriate to call this rule of Valluvar as a platinum rule, in my opinion. One may question the practicality of this noble goal. Is it always possible to do good things when somebody causes hurt or somebody causes evil behavior towards us? It is possible. Mahatma Gandhi has been a good example in this case. When Mahatma Gandhi was in South Africa fighting for the rights of Indians, he was sentenced to jail several times by General Smuts. But Gandhi's protest was always non-violent. Mahatma Gandhi had no ill feelings towards General Smuts. When in prison, Gandhi had learned to make sandals. Just before he left South Africa, he gifted the pair of sandals he made to General Smuts. General Smuts wore those sandals for many years, but he always felt guilty when he wore them. During Gandhi's 70th birthday celebrations, the general returned the pair of sandals with a note stating that he did not deserve to wear them. The sandals are in Gandhi Museum in Mumbai, India. Mahatma Gandhi used non-violence as a tool to fight against the British government in the struggle for India's independence. Later, the concept was adopted by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in his struggle against the government of USA to obtain civil rights for African Americans. Subsequently, Nelson Mandela also used non-violent methods to end apartheid and to establish a democratic government in South Africa. Valluvar's solution to end violence at the individual, social, and political levels has produced positive results, and it is worth promoting that as the approach to end violence. After all, the origin of violence is in the minds of people. If people can eliminate the idea of hurting others from their minds, then there will be no more violence. The preamble of the Constitution of UNESCO declares that since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that defenses of peace must be constructed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly the approach recommended by Valluvar. Now, the last cause that we are going to talk about, the last problem, is environmental degradation. Like others, this is also related to other sustainable development goals. What is Valluvar's solution? What is environmental degradation first? Environmental degradation is a deterioration of the environment through depletion of resources such as quality of air, water, and soil, the destruction of ecosystems, habitat destruction, and the extinction of wildlife and pollution. In other words, it refers to any change or disturbance to the environment perceived to be deleterious or undesirable. Environmental degradation is a relatively new problem. Human beings have come up with many innovations in the past hundreds of years. Agriculture, mining, manufacturing, transportation, and communications are some of the sectors in which we have made phenomenal progress. While the innovations and progress in these areas have produced several benefits, they have also contributed to environmental degradation. When the human society changed from hunter-gatherer society to an agricultural society, the result was deforestation and loss of biodiversity. Deforestation meaning cutting off the trees, and loss of biodiversity meaning elimination of various species of animals. After the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century, major changes in manufacturing started, and that resulted in increased use of coal as the primary source of energy. With the advent of automobiles and airplanes in the 20th century, the use of other forms of fossil energy such as oil and natural gas has become more ubiquitous. That has led to land degradation, water pollution, toxic air pollution, and global warming. No doubt the innovations are extremely beneficial, but they also have detrimental consequences. So what is Valluvar's stance on environmental degradation? He talks about two things. One is loss of biodiversity. During Valluvar's days, there was no serious concern regarding the environmental degradation. However, he recognized the need for protecting all life forms in the world. With that goal in mind, he says, according to all the books in the world, sharing our food with all the creatures of the world and protecting them is the most important virtue. According to Yuval Noah Harari, the well-known author, human beings have been a constant threat to the continued survival of many life forms. Urbanization and agriculture have resulted in the loss of habitat for many species of animals. Our actions have contributed to the loss of biodiversity. So if we pay attention to Valluvar's remarks regarding sharing our food and protecting all life forms, we may be able to achieve United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 15, which aims to halt the loss of biodiversity and environmental degradation. Valluvar also talks about water. There is a growing shortage of water in the world. Over 2 billion people, 2 billion people in the world lack access to water that is free of health risks. The United Nations has determined that access to clean water and sanitation facilities is a basic human right. Sustainable Development Goal number 6 is designed to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Valluvar is in total agreement with the objective of this goal. He asserts that water is essential to sustain life on Earth. He says, life cannot exist without water in this world. Similarly, virtue cannot exist without rain. Not only that the water should be available, the available water should also be clean. In a different context, Valluvar says that forests are highly desirable fortification for a country. It can also be interpreted that since forests contribute to rainfall, which is an essential source of water, forests offer protection for the people in a country, and therefore deforestation should be avoided. Valluvar also has a warning. He did not know the specifics about the environmental problem, but he has a very general warning. In this regard, Valluvar has a quarrel which sounds like a warning to human beings. He says that although we know how to do new things, we must ensure they are consistent with nature. Anything that is against nature will have adverse consequences. The quarrel is as follows. Though you are acquainted with theoretical methods of performing an act, make sure that it is in tune with the nature. For example, the proliferation of plastics has caused damage to the Earth's surface as well as water. Valluvar could not have known or anticipated environmental problems the world is facing today. But amazingly, the quarrel is valid in the present context, where the world is confronted with the problem of environmental deterioration. In this context, there is another quarrel that is worth paying attention. Valluvar stresses the importance of prevention and planning to avoid disasters. The life of a man who does not guard against potential problems will be destroyed like a haystack before an advancing fire. Here we see Valluvar's prophetic wisdom advising us on the need to take preventive measures against a possible catastrophe. Scientists have been warning the world about the dangers of environmental degradation. Based on their advice, the leaders of the United Nations had recognized the dangers of environmental problems and have come up with the sustainable development goals designed to protect the world from such threats. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely the approach recommended by Valluvar. There is also another solution to most of the problems. We looked at 4 major problems facing the world: poverty, diseases, violence, and environmental degradation. Valluvar has proposed solutions for all of these. For example, his solution for elimination of poverty is for the government and the affluent people to help the poor with love and compassion through charity and philanthropy without expecting anything in return. The solution for the elimination of diseases involves compassionate governance by the rulers and love for the fellow human beings by the caregivers and the society. The solution for the problem of violence is through tolerance and love. The solution for the problem of environmental degradation underscores the need for love for all forms of life, present and the future. This earth does not belong only to us. It belongs to our children, our grandchildren, and the future generations. So we see that love is a common factor in the solution for all the 4 major problems and perhaps for all problems we face. But are human beings capable of such love? Valluvar is convinced that all human beings are endowed with the capacity to love and act with love towards all living beings. He says, love is the quintessence of life. Without it, a man is nothing but a frame of bones covered with skin. Obviously, we are not simply a frame of bones covered with skin. We are living human beings. Therefore, we must be capable of empathy. We must be capable of love. As the American poet Anthony Liccioni says, with love, everything is possible. Or, as John Lennon of Beatles would say, all you need is love. In conclusion, Valluvar is a philosopher for all ages and for all people. As G.U. Pope says, he is the god of universal man. His book is immortal. His philosophy is secular. He believes in the equality of all people. His approach is rational. His focus is life on earth. His philosophy is based on life and world affirmation. His message is one of truth, nonviolence, love, and compassion towards all living beings in the world. The world will be immensely benefited by his ageless wisdom. Therefore, it is our duty to spread his message throughout the world and inculcate the younger generation with Valluvar's wisdom to make this world a better place. With this, I conclude. Thank you.
Prabhakaran, this
Yes.
was the most illuminating and enlightening speech. I must say you touch the core of the theme that we wanted to develop to take UNESCO to the world. I must say that I'm sure all of us gathered here today would join me in congratulating Dr. Prabhakaran for such a beautiful insight into what you call the Valluvar prescriptions for the pressing problems of the world today. And you've addressed the issues raised by the United Nations, the 17 SDGs, and you've also addressed components or different components of those SDGs in a very beautiful way. And what I like also is your reference, your link with UNESCO, when you said that for Valluvar, the source of violence is in the minds of people, and you relate it to UNESCO's constitution, the preamble which says that since war begins in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. And as you rightly mentioned, Confucius, Gandhi, Mandela, and here I recall what Gandhi said, the maxims of Thirukkural has touched my soul. You know how profound this is. So I won't be long because I would like other colleagues, other members of the panel, of the participants to raise questions, to talk about, put question to you and say a few words. So let me therefore, in a brief statement, thank you very much, Dr. Prabhakaran. You really shed light on some of the very important themes that we are considering, and I'm sure we look forward to you joining us when we go to UNESCO in Paris, right? So that we can then achieve our goal, our mission of presenting all this to to UNESCO and to the world. So with these few words, let me invite comments. Probably Mr. Rajendran, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Really a very illuminating presentation by Dr. Prabhakaran. He identified the problems. He traced the cause of the problems, and he also offered solution through Valluvar. And surprisingly, the way he connected all the four problems and causes, and he says one solution. Finally, he said one solution: love. And if that is possible, very simple, he said, very simple. This is the one solution which will connect all not only these four problems, but all the problems. With the way he presented, very forcefully presented, and he quoted the relevant. I was really, excellent, Doctor. I must join all of you to congratulate and thank Dr. Prabhakaran sharing his knowledge and wisdom on Thirukkural and the world today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will invite other participants who may like to say a few words. Dr. Prabhakaran, you want to have the word? You want to say something?
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed doing some research and thinking about these problems and going back to Thirukkural and what Valluvar solutions are. I really enjoyed this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll invite any other comment.
Yeah, வணக்கம் ஐயா.
Yes. Yes.
மிக அருமையா இருந்தது. அமெரிக்கால இருந்தாலும் அன்புனால நம்ம இணையலாம், அன்பால மட்டும்தான் எதையுமே சாதிக்க முடியுங்கிறத ரொம்ப அருமையா சொன்னீங்கய்யா.
நன்றிமா, நன்றி.
டால்ஸ்டாய் அவர் மகாத்மாவுக்கு திருக்குறள் அறிமுகப்படுத்தினதோடு இருந்து மகாத்மா முதல் மண்டேலா வரை அகிம்சையால அன்புனால மட்டும்தான் இந்த உலகத்தை சாதிக்க முடியும் அப்படிங்கறத மிக தெளிவா அருமையா இருந்ததுயா இன்றைய பேச்சு.
நன்றிமா.
Dr. Ashraf?
Yeah. Dr. Prabhakaran, I hope you remember me. I had mailed you. I got a copy of your book.
Yeah, I do. You had problem getting a copy of the book, and we made sure you got a copy. Thank you.
Yeah, I did get, and I have read about 1/3 of the book.
Okay.
I keep reading it whenever I have something to refer to. So I finish a section, and then today morning, because you are going to talk, I try to read some of the sections.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll discuss.
It was nice talking. It was nice talking to you, hearing your speech. And what time is it now these days? Now in the US?
Now it's 8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m. right now. So you spoke about 7:30 a.m.
I started at 7:30. Yes.
7:30. You should have got up at 6 o'clock at least to get ready. Nice of you.
Yeah.
Sure. Glad, nice seeing you. And where do you live?
I live in Maryland, about 70-80 miles from Washington, D.C., north of Washington, D.C.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming forward. And I was looking forward to this talk. The moment I saw the flyer, I had marked it to listen to your presentation. It was wonderful. I have read many of your blogs because I didn't know that it's the same Prabhakaran. I had during my Google searches, I have read your articles in the past. Then only later, recently, I connected to you directly, and then we exchanged some few mails. Yeah.
I also listened to your presentation. It was very good, very enjoyable presentation with a lot of PowerPoint slides. It was really good presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
talking
you.
to you. Thank you so much. I don't have any particular questions, but it was a brilliant presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Ashraf, we are waiting for your second presentation. Huh? Let us know when you're ready. We'll program it. Right? Dr.
Okay.
Ashraf?
Yeah,
As we discussed earlier, you and Dr. Balakrishnan, we are looking forward to the subsequent presentation you agreed to make to go deeper into the subject of the UNESCO and world peace, Thirukkural and world peace, right? So once you're ready, let us know. We'll program it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Dr. Prabhakaran, as Dr. Ashraf has done, I will be happy to have a copy of your book. Do you have a soft copy of the book?
I'll be glad to send you a copy. I'll make sure you get a copy. All I need is your address, and I can get it. You can text me.
I will send it to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a soft copy also? Because then I don't know whether it's appropriate.
I have a soft copy. I'll send you a soft copy, and also I'll make sure I send you a hard copy.
Please, thank you. That would be very useful. I'm doing a collection, but enriching further my own knowledge about it. Thank you very much. So, any other observation?
Yeah, I just sir, I'm Pathasarathi.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dr. Prabhakaran is one of the. I think he is the main person leading the Thirukkural in North America for so many years, and he used to conduct weekly Thirukkural meetings by inviting the public, and has been doing it for years. And then he concluded with the Thirukkural International Conference by inviting Dr. Abdul Kalam. And the same thing he did for Purananuru International Conference, and then Kurundogai International Conference. I missed the first one, but I was present for the Purananuru and the Kurundogai conferences in person, because we're all the same Tamil Sangam, where he was the president. So I was his junior on this. So we need to have. I think I would recommend having. I mean, it's a very powerful presentation, and he has been deep into this, and we need to. The US has to play a major role in terms of achieving this goal, that UNESCO, Thirukkural and UNESCO thing, our project. So I would suggest having each country who has been working on Thirukkural for long term should be an ambassador for that country, so that we can have a collectively form a major, bigger team to achieve this goal.
Very good, Pata. Good suggestion, Pata. We'll follow up on that. It's a very good suggestion. And would we have any other comment? Feel free, don't hesitate. I think it's an opportunity for you to say a few words. Dr. Shakti, my good friend from UK.
Thank you so much for sharing the invitation. It was quite an inspiring hour or so, and also very motivating to hear other people's comments. very happy to be a chain or a link in the chain of this. And we have quite a lot of Tamil Sangams associations in the UK as well. And my wife, for example, takes interest in teaching Tamil for local people every week. So we can unite, as the previous speaker said, in helping advance this mission. I wanted to observe that there is, having lived in Tamil Nadu and born and brought up there and coming here and living in UK last 15 years, I think there is also another dimension to Thirukkural's. Well, there are so many things. It's like a universe. But one particular thing I want to draw out was the leadership quality and what Thirukkural would say as the qualities of leadership. Generally, developing leadership in various I have experienced as winning and losing, and there is quite a different dimension about love and compassion subjects. I think that can also be considered as part of the advancing Valluvar's contribution to the UNESCO and the UN's World Peace. So
Absolutely. That's a very good suggestion, Dr. Shakti. We'll take good note. Dr. Shakti, I must share with all of you. I met him in Tamil Nadu, but then, well, he is in UK, very well placed there. He's director for the health services, if I'm right. You know, you occupy a very important position in UK, in the health service, and been doing quite a lot of work in the area of COVID also. So would you, I'm sorry to be taking you by surprise, but since you make this very interesting proposal, would you be prepared to work on it?
Oh, most definitely, yes. Very happy to
Go ahead,
and being part of the team. Yes.
Excellent. So Shaktivel is taking note. Shaktivel, a proper future speaker will be Dr. Shakti Karunanidhi.
Yes,
okay, on this very important topic. May I also suggest that we mentioned some great personalities who've been talking a lot about Thirukkural, and for example, the next conference on the 4th of September by Brother Kumar Punitavel will be on contribution of G.U. Pope in making Thirukkural universal. So that's G.U. Pope, we must recognize, took Thirukkural to the West, and to the world. And this is something which we have contributed tremendously. But at the same time, I believe that if we can think of, if somebody, those who are participating, could think of a presentation on Abdul Kalam and Thirukkural. I have great respect for this great man. Each time, wherever he is, he quotes Kural, and he's a knowledgeable person in that field. So if somebody can work on that, and then one on Gandhi and Kural. Gandhi has said so much about Kural, how it influences him, his non-violence policy, and so on. I'm just throwing these ideas because all this will bring, great impact on the mission that we have embarked upon of taking Thirukkural to the world and when we go to UNESCO. I'm just suggesting that you may just give me your comments, but I would like to propose that anybody who is prepared to take it on will be most welcome. Dr. Ashraf, what do you think of that?
It's a brilliant idea, Gandhi and Thiruvallur and the former president of Thiruvallur, because they had a relationship, and the entire Mahatma Gandhi's life was Thirukkural in practice. There's no doubt about it. But it's a brilliant idea, but I am not the person cut out to speak about such things. It's slightly off my radar. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm inviting, I wanted your view whether you like the idea, but then
brilliant idea. Brilliant idea, because brilliant idea, but I would like to have a good speaker and a person who knows well and Gandhi's life.
Yeah, I would invite you to suggest. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I have a suggestion. Kannan, who is a Gandhian as well as a management graduate, and he has already done some research work on Thirukkural. He is also a scholar on Thirukkural. He has translated Thirukkural in English. So he has done a detailed paper on Gandhi. I would request him to
please,
make a speech on that, sir. Really, he's a fit person. He's the most
very good.
I thank you that flagged this issue today. Thank you, sir.
One more suggestion,
No,
sir.
Yes.
One more suggestion. அந்த ஒரு
Yes.
திருக்குறளுக்கு தமிழ்ல சொல்றேன் நான். ஒரு திருக்குறளுக்கு வந்து ஒரு சின்ன கதை மாதிரி ரோல் மாரல் கதை மாதிரி ஒரு குறளுக்கு சொல்ற மாதிரி அது மாதிரி ஒரு டாபிக்ஸ் ஃபியூ குறளுக்கு வித் ஒன் ஸ்மால் ஸ்டோரி அந்த மாதிரி சொன்னா ஈஸிலி அப்ரோச்சபிள். சின்ன பிள்ளைங்களுக்குலாம் இப்ப எல்லாம் இங்கிலீஷே பேசுறதுனால அவங்களுக்கு புரிய மாட்டேங்குதுல்ல. ஒரு குறளை வச்சு ஒரு சின்ன கதை ஒரு சொல்ற மாதிரி பொருள் விளங்குற மாதிரி அவங்களுக்கு நல்ல நன்னெறி கதைகள் மாதிரியும் ஆயிடும் அது. அப்புறம் குறளோவியம்னு சொல்லி லாஸ்ட் டைம் இருந்தது. நாங்கெல்லாம் இந்தியால ஸ்கூல் படிக்கும் பொழுது நான்லாம் அதுல பரிசு வாங்கியிருக்கேன். குறளோவியம்னு கலைஞர் கருணாநிதி அவங்களையும் திருக்குறளும்னு கூட நம்ம செய்யலாம். அந்த குறளோவியம்லாம் we used to do last time.
That is one. Karunanidhi and Thirukkural. That could be one topic.
Yes, I fully agree with that because I think he's made a tremendous contribution to promote Thirukkural, Valluvar also, and this is a landmark, and that would be something good. So I would invite our participants to suggest potential speakers.
The problem is to get speakers who can speak in English. You will have quite a lot of people to speak about Karunanidhi and Thirukkural, but in English you may find it difficult.
I think we can make provision for speak in English, so long as we can circulate the English translation of their speech in advance, and we can follow. There's no problem with that. We can include speakers in Tamil, and we in advance if we can translate it into English, then we will be able to follow. That's not a problem. We don't want to limit it to English only. The idea of using English is because we are going international for the wider community to understand. But if we can provide translation or interpretation, then we will do it. We should do it. So we can consider that. And I must say that Mr. Punit Tavel, would you like to say something?
Okay. It was a very interesting presentation and a very important presentation too. He covered a wide section of the subject. Thank you very much, and really enjoyed the presentation. And as said, that lady said, telling Thirukkural through stories will certainly have an impact on the younger generation, because we can't expect them to memorize and then just go on in it. But a story will clearly show them the value and the usefulness of that knowledge we gain by learning Thirukkural. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mr. Punit Tavel. So we're looking forward to your presentation on the 4th of September. And also I must share with you that Mr. Kumar Punit Tavel has also written a beautiful story on Valluvar and enchanted smile of Mona Lisa. I'm sure you'll give us a taste of that next when you talk on the 4th of September, right? That's
sure, I will. Certainly, because 2000 years ago he had explained the enchanting smile of Mona Lisa, which is unique anyway.
Okay. Thank you. That would add some flavor. Well, I think we've covered the ground. We need to identify a speaker who can talk on Abdul Kalam and Kural. Gandhi, you've identified somebody. And likewise, the topic of leadership, as mentioned by Dr. Shakti, is well noted. And feel free, if you have any other suggestion, let us know, because we are still going on. We are having a regular, as you could see, conference every month and even twice. And I would also bring to your attention again the other major event we are going to have on the 21st of September. And 21st of September being the International Peace Day, which is very significant. And since we are focusing our theme of our conference on Thirukkural and UNESCO for world peace and harmony, I think that 21st September, we are very happy that Dr. Federico Mayo has agreed to delegate on the 21st. Initially, he had proposed 22nd, but finally came back to me when I told him about the coinciding it with the International Day. So that will bring the Thirukkural in still greater limelight. And he has, I've sent him all the relevant documentation, and I can assure you, he already spoke to me very highly of Valluvar, of Thirukkural, from what he has read. So we are looking forward to his conference on the 21st of September. We have chosen that date, it's a weekday, because we want to mark the occasion. We can't do it on another day because the International Day is on the 21st of September. And that will be very significant for us. And the topic is going to cover will be culture of peace. I told you he's the architect of the culture of peace. He took it even to the UN. The theme is culture of peace, and Thirukkural, with reference to the UNESCO mission of building peace in the minds of men. So that will be his theme, and we're looking forward to that. With these few words, I would still allow, we have a few minutes left. If anybody would like to say a few words, otherwise, I'll ask Mr. Rajendran to give the closing address.
Thank you, sir. I think people have expressed their views, and today was really a very, very illuminating presentation by Dr. Prabhakaran. Very lucid, clear, and what needs to be done. Everything was there, and we are in the process of collecting all the presentation. And this once the sequence is done, when we are at the doorstep of UNESCO, we'll try to compile all these speeches. So that will give us the roadmap for how do we proceed in the future. So today I thank all the participants who joined us today in this journey. And this is not. I also urge upon each one of you that whoever is conversant in Thirukkural, who are conversant in the issues concerning the society, who can connect it with the Thirukkural, so please suggest names, and we will try to feature them in our presentations. So I once again thank Dr. Prabhakaran. And we are under the leadership of Dr. Arumum Parasuraman, who has got extensive experience in both UNESCO as well as Thirukkural. Thirukkural, though he has not studied in Tamil, but his heart is full of Thirukkural, and he is also translated Justice R. Mahadevan judgment, full judgment, 50+ pages judgment in French, and that is also being circulated. So under the leadership of Dr. Arvo Prasraman and able support from Dr. Chandrika Subramaniam, and of course, Valaithamil Parthsarathi. He is a man everywhere. He is a man into many things, but Thirukkural is core of everything. As today Dr. Prabhakaran said, love is essence of life, and love touches all the aspects of life, and love is the only remedy for all the problems. If the love is there in the heart of the people, then there won't be any problem at all. So he touched that issue. So like that, also for him, though he is on various fields, for him, Thirukkural in channelizing our efforts. So I thank everyone who participated today and who joined us in this journey. And thank you very much. And we'll travel together. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.